I fell in love with Oliver at first sight, but Oliver didn't like me. The sister of his first love had congenital heart disease. He begged me to offer both money and effort, saying that he was willing to be with me. I readily agreed. I even sent his first love to study abroad. After getting married, he was unwilling to have children with me, so I raised the illegitimate child he had secretly with his first love without any complaints or regrets. For more than 20 years, I worked like crazy and became ill due to pent-up emotions. Lying on the hospital bed before I was 50, Oliver, in order to resume his relationship with his first love as soon as possible, took off my oxygen mask with his own hands. Before I died, I asked Oliver if he had ever loved me. He said that he hated me to the bone and that I had ruined his whole life. Once again, I decided to let go. But he regretted it. When I opened my eyes again, I was holding a bouquet of bright red roses in my hand and was handing them to Oliver with a shy look on my face. The onlookers beside were making winks. The rich lady is proposing to you. Accept it quickly. Oliver will be the son-in-law of the Scarlet family from now on. Amid the jokes, Oliver's eyes were red with anger. He flipped the table over. And he trampled my roses under his feet. It wasn't until my whole face was pressed into the cake that I was absolutely certain. I was reborn. Scarlet, what else do you have besides money? Don't think that just because you helped Vivian, you can do whatever you want to me. I've already promised to stay away from Vivian. What more do you want? Oliver questioned me harshly. As if I had really insulted him. I fell in love with Oliver at first sight and had been pursuing him hard since the beginning of school. I sent him the breakfast I made by myself, got up at 6 in the morning to reserve seats for him, and took on his group assignments. These were all my firsts in life, and I gave them all to him without reservation. But Oliver wasn't happy about it. He said that he liked someone else, who was outside the school. I was sad, but I didn't want to be a mistress either, so I quietly stayed away. Until last month, Oliver suddenly said that he was willing to be with me on the condition that I gave him 1 million yuan and arranged for my elder brother, who is a surgeon, to operate on the sister of his first love. He raised his hand and swore that he would pay me back, and that after I helped with this, he would be mine from then on, without any second thoughts. I was crazy about Oliver and naively thought that this was a fated idle drama, so I readily agreed to this absurd deal. After getting the 1 million yuan, I also begged my brother to operate on the sister of his first love. But in the eyes of others, I was the despicable person who forced him to be with me with money. Some people said that since I was so rich, if I really liked Oliver, I should just give the 1 million yuan as a gift and not ask for it back. Others said that I was just malicious and wanted to break up that poor couple. In my previous life, I still felt guilty, doubting whether I had really broken up Oliver and Vivian. Now that I think about it, they were just taking me for a sucker. My shoulder was bumped hard. Vivian suddenly appeared from somewhere, holding a tissue and wiping the cake residue on Oliver's hands with a distressed look on her face. Oliver, who had just been like an angry wolf dog, now had a much softer aura. He really had his heart elsewhere while staying with me. Vivian glared at me fiercely. Scarlet, don't go too far. We'll pay back that 1 million yuan sooner or later. You're not allowed to insult Oliver like this. I was so angry that I laughed. Was it an insult to book the whole hotel to celebrate Oliver's birthday? The sisters of Vivian beside also started to morally blackmail me. Scarlet, love is about selfless dedication without asking for anything in return. How could you force them to pay you back? Exactly. Oliver and Vivian's love is as strong as gold. If you really love Oliver, you should let them be together. Don't think that just because you have some stinking money, you're so great. Oliver has always loved Vivian. You're rudely interfering. It'll only make Oliver hate you more. Do you know that this is the behavior of a mistress? I didn't say a word. I took the towel handed by the waiter and quietly wiped off the thick layer of cake on my face. Then I took a knife and cut a piece of cake, tasted it. Actually, Oliver and I had the same birthday. In order to prepare a perfect birthday party for him, I didn't celebrate my birthday for the first time in more than 20 years. This cake was the result of my learning for a month. I didn't expect that before I could even taste it, Oliver pressed my face into the cake and ruined it. Once I thought that it was a fated connection that God arranged for us to have the same birthday. Now it seems that Oliver is my nemesis, seeing that I had been silent all the time. Just eating the cake with a dejected look, Oliver finally felt a bit flustered. His brows furrowed tightly. "Scarlett, what are you crazy about? It's just a cake. Don't act like someone has bullied you." Vivian took Oliver's arm, her eyes full of contempt. "Don't bother with her. The more she acts like this, the tighter she'll cling to you. If she had the guts, she would break up with you." "Okay, we'll break up." Oliver was taken aback. "What did you say?" I threw the cake in my hand onto Oliver's face, retorting, "I said, we've broken up. Can't you understand human language?" Vivian, who was closest to Oliver, exclaimed when faced with the cake attack, "Scarlett, what are you crazy about? You can't bear to part with Oliver." Oliver also had a cold expression. "Your trick of playing hard to get doesn't work on me. Your behavior like this will only make me dislike you more." I crossed my arms and sneered, "Get out quickly, or I'll have someone beat you out." This was the first time I had said such harsh words to them. I liked Oliver, so I always spoke gently and never dared to raise my voice, let alone sneer like today. I was even more cautious in dealing with Vivian, for fear of annoying her and making Oliver unhappy. Even so, Oliver didn't change his opinion of me. He even joined hands with Vivian to kill me. Even if you raise a dog, after more than 20 years of hard work, it should be tamed. Vivian had never suffered such grievances in front of me. Immediately, she leaned against Oliver's arms and started crying pitifully. Her little sisters immediately launched a siege on me. How arrogant. What did Vivian do wrong? Why treat her like this? Even if you kill Vivian, Oliver won't like you. Oliver, are you still a man? You're bullying Vivian like this. Oliver was provoked and his face looked ugly. His voice became several degrees colder. "Scarlett, it was just that I threw away your roses and cake. Is it necessary to be so aggressive? That 1 million yuan was borrowed by me. It has nothing to do with Vivian. You can't bully her." Usually, if he just frowned, I wouldn't dare to continue. But now, what does it have to do with me? I looked at Oliver with a sarcastic gaze. "Okay, 1 million yuan. How do you plan to pay it back? 3 years? 5 years? Or 10 years? Oliver came from an ordinary family. He couldn't even ensure a carefree life in terms of food and drink, let alone bear a debt of 1 million yuan. He was irritated by my teasing gaze, and the veins on his forehead bulged. 3 months. I'll pay you back this money in 3 months. Oliver. Vivian tugged at the corner of Oliver's clothes, her face looking bad. Oliver was obviously carried away by contempt. He comfortingly patted Vivian. "Don't be afraid. I'll pay back this money. You just take care of Kara. She just had an operation and needs someone by her side." Vivian knew she couldn't persuade Oliver, so she looked at me angrily. "Scarlett, after paying back the money, Oliver will have nothing to do with you anymore." I nodded indifferently. Seeing that I was unyielding, her little sisters were filled with righteous indignation. "You'll regret it. Scarlett, even if you come crying to beg our Oliver in the future, he won't forgive you." Other onlookers were also whispering among themselves. "Cut, she's starting to put on an act again. She can't bear to part with Oliver. It's obvious that she wants to threaten him with money. How could it be possible to pay back 1 million yuan in 3 months? She just wants to tie Oliver down. What a malicious person. And she still says she's not relying on the stinking money in her family. She'll get her comeuppance sooner or later." No one believed that I would really break up with Oliver. After all, I used to love him so much that I almost lost myself. Oliver left with Vivian and the others in a grand manner. The remaining onlookers also tactfully dispersed gradually. The huge hotel was decorated with lanterns and colored streamers, but it was empty and lonely. My good friend Arya touched my shoulder. "Aren't you going to chase after them?" I raised a smile. "We broke up. What's there to chase?" Thinking of my past deeds, Arya said helplessly, "If only you could really let go. For his sake, you didn't even celebrate your own birthday. You even lied to your brother that this hotel was for your own party. Scarlett, I think you really should exorcise evil spirits. I don't know what's so good about that Oliver. I don't like Oliver anymore. I said seriously. But Arya didn't believe it. Who would believe such nonsense? Vivian even dropped out of school. For Oliver's happiness, you begged your father to get her back to school to continue studying. And your brother, a renowned cardiothoracic expert, was already studying abroad. Because of you, he came back to perform the operation for free. Look at yourself. Look at your hands, those dark circles under your eyes, and how haggard you look. I almost don't recognize you. Listening to Arya's words one by one, I suddenly realized that I had actually paid so much for him. But Oliver always forgot, always only thinking about taking. I let out a heavy sigh and faced Arya's expression of hating that I was so hopeless. Don't worry. I'll never like Oliver again. Probably because I was being too abnormal. Arya opened her mouth wide and then closed it tightly. Tonight, I'll abandon my boyfriend and stay with you, so that you won't cry too badly. I smiled speechlessly. That night, Arya and I drank a lot of wine together. We vented the pain and hatred that had accumulated in our hearts for a lifetime. I hugged Arya, crying and laughing. Arya cursed me for being crazy, going mad without Oliver. I shook my head and raised my glass to her, saying, "Congratulations to me on being reborn." Arya and I laughed and joked all the way to the downstairs of the dormitory. Suddenly, we saw Oliver and Vivian not far away. Vivian was crying softly. Oliver's face was full of heartache as he kept wiping her tears. Finally, the two hugged tightly and kissed. Arya covered my eyes, afraid that I would get angry if I saw it. I just raised the corners of my mouth slightly, feeling nothing in my heart. The next day after class, I asked Arya to come and help me clean up the dormitory. My family lives locally and I also bought a house near the school. But in order to conveniently pursue Oliver, I chose to live on campus. But now there's no need to endure hardships unnecessarily. I was just halfway through cleaning up when Vivian and her group of little sisters came back. As soon as they saw me, they immediately started to put on an act. "Vivian, I saw you and Oliver hugging tightly downstairs last night. Did you go to a hotel since you didn't come back in the second half of the night?" Vivian lowered her head shyly and didn't speak, but her expression said it all. Those people looked at me sideways. Oliver is handsome and excellent. If it weren't for some people interfering rudely, you two would have already become the most enviable couple on campus. Right. She thinks she's so great just because she has some stinking money and is even playing the trick of asking for the money back. She'll surely mess it up. Oliver's family isn't bad either. Look at our clothes and bags. Which one wasn't bought by Oliver? Hearing this, I looked at the designer bags on them in surprise. "Oliver bought all these for you?" Vivian was full of pride and lifted the Hermes bag in her hand. "Do you think you're the only one with money? If it weren't for Oliver's older brother suppressing him, he wouldn't have come to beg you for just 1,000,000 yuan. I laughed. Just 1,000,000 yuan? Oliver even applied for a student loan to study here. He was lying. I liked Oliver, so whenever he asked me to borrow money, I would give him a large sum. And to take care of his pitiful self-esteem, I always used the excuse of asking him to run errands for me each time and calculated it as an errand fee. I also left my supplementary credit card with him under various pretexts. So it turns out that all that money was spent on Vivian and her little sisters. Seeing my brows furrowed, Vivian said arrogantly, "You can see it too. Oliver will always only have me in his heart. If you kneel down and beg me and call Oliver to tell him he doesn't need to pay back that 1,000,000 yuan, I can reluctantly let Oliver forgive you. Also, transfer 200,000 yuan to me every month. After all, I'm going abroad soon and someone has to take care of my sister." The others all laughed. They looked at me with contempt, as if I were some cheap trash. Vivian met my gaze and said without restraint, "By the way, I've thought about it. Since I don't understand the language for studying in Europe and I haven't even passed CET 4, it's not too much to hire a translator, right? It'd be best to have a bilingual nanny who can accompany me in my studies and also take care of people. Arya couldn't bear to listen anymore. She raised her hand to slap Vivian but was stopped by me. Scarlett, let me go. Let me tear this bitch apart. Arya looked at me angrily. In her gaze that seemed to be spitting blood, I nodded. Vivian was even surprised. Then, thinking of my unwavering devotion to Oliver, she suddenly burst out laughing. The sisters beside her were also shocked, their jaws dropping. Then they burst into mocking laughter. Seriously? She's really Oliver's lapdog. I've said it before. Scarlett is such an idiot, throwing herself at him. What's this? In the future, when Oliver and Sister Vivian have a child, she'll be eager to raise it. Facing the mockery, I asked casually, any other requirements? A greedy smile appeared on Vivian's face. She thought about it carefully. Your brother is very handsome and excellent. Since both he and I will be in Europe, why not? 12. I sneered and threw the desk lamp in my hand hard at Vivian's feet. Vivian was startled and let out a scream. How dare you hit me? Ignoring her anger, I took out my phone and made a call to my secretary, Uncle William, cancel all my supplementary credit cards. Vivian looked at me in confusion. Are you trying to pretend to be broke by canceling the cards? I ignored her and made another call. Director, I've made up my mind. The study abroad quota should go to whoever it was originally supposed to. To make up for it, I'm willing to provide a subsidy of 200,000 yuan. 18. The director was stunned for a moment and then stammered, Scarlett, about the boss. 19. It's okay. Just do as I say. I'll handle my father. Thank you for your hard work. The director was overjoyed. Great. I'll contact them right away. That student's family isn't well off. They were originally going to give up the quota. Now that you're willing to sponsor 200,000 yuan, they'll surely thank you very much. Also, about the one you originally recommended, who hasn't even passed CET-4 and acts like a little gangster, eating, drinking, and having fun everywhere all day. I didn't even know how to explain to the other school. It's so good that you've changed your mind. 24. Hearing the last few sentences, I raised my eyebrows. I had the call on speakerphone. Every word the director said echoed in the dormitory. There were also quite a few people who had come back to the dormitory to watch the fun. I smiled. Director, you're joking. Vivian's face suddenly changed. Scarlett, what do you mean? I was too lazy to bother with her and asked a female porter to come up and help me with my things. Seeing that I was about to leave, Vivian grabbed my hand, but I shook her off forcefully. She got worried. Oliver likes me. I can't help it. He's the one who keeps pestering me. If you send me abroad, he won't have a chance. Look, this is the woman Oliver loved wholeheartedly for decades. And for this woman, he didn't even hesitate to put me to death with his own hands. Seeing that I still ignored her, Vivian finally got angry. Scarlett, are you crazy? You can't hold on to a man yourself, so why take it out on others? This time, I threw a vase at her feet. Vivian was so scared that she froze. Arya was so surprised that she could probably fit an egg in her mouth. She still didn't forget to give me a thumbs up. Scarlett, why are you suddenly so clear-headed? Arya asked with great care. I didn't answer but took out my credit card with great momentum. Let's go. In my previous life, despite the objections of my parents and elder brother, I insisted on marrying Oliver. My parents were so angry that they cancelled my credit cards. To prove my love for Oliver, I gave up my life as a young lady and started working to earn money. Oliver studied all the way to get a doctorate, and I supported him until he got it. My parents were so heartbroken that they cried, but I didn't look back. Looking back now, I was really blinded by love back then. Arya accompanied me on a shopping spree in the mall, from Hermes to Patek Philippe. When we were tired from shopping, Arya dragged me into a Western restaurant to eat. Hello, madam. What would you like to order? 43. The voice stopped abruptly. Oliver said angrily, Scarlett, do you have to keep humiliating people? I looked at Arya. No wonder she was so determined to eat at this restaurant. Seeing that I didn't reply, Oliver got even angrier. You've even chased me to my workplace. Aren't you annoying? The 3 months haven't expired yet. Now get out of my workplace immediately. I was left speechless. I just came here to have a meal. Oliver snorted coldly, full of lies. There are so many restaurants. Why did you come here specifically? I just started working here yesterday and you already knew. Did you send someone to follow me? I'll call the police. And about Vivian studying abroad, how dare you cancel it? It seemed that Vivian had already told him about what happened yesterday. I was too lazy to talk to this lunatic anymore. I really didn't know what I saw in him back then. Just as I was about to leave, Vivian led her sisters and swaggered into the Western restaurant not far away. Seeing me, she snorted coldly with her nose in the air. Vivian stepped forward and took Oliver's hand, saying in a delicate voice, "Did she follow you again? It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't owe her 1 million yuan. It doesn't matter if the study abroad quota is gone. As long as you can get rid of her completely." Oliver immediately hugged her in his arms with a pained look and then glared at me angrily. "I'll pay you back that 1 million yuan as soon as possible. Don't think of taking it out on Vivian." The matter of studying abroad was already settled. Are you going to cancel it just because of what happened last night? Scarlett, stop being so unreasonable. The school isn't run by your family. Quite a few customers around had already looked over here. They hugged each other tightly with a pitiful look, making me look like a hateful mistress. The study abroad quota wasn't hers in the first place. Why is she coming to make a fuss with me? Ask her if she has taken the IELTS or TOEFL tests herself. I took out the recording of Oliver begging me to change the quota for Vivian and played it publicly. In the recording, Oliver's voice was threatening. "Scarlett, this study abroad quota must go to Vivian. So what if it belongs to someone else? Can't you just grab it? Your parents are so rich. There's no way you can't do anything about it." Oliver blushed with embarrassment and tried to snatch my phone. I didn't let him succeed. It was the weekend, and there were quite a few students from the school having meals here. They were all stretching their necks to look over here, taking pictures with their phones. Under Oliver's gloomy gaze, I called the manager. "This waiter is humiliating me." The manager looked at the luxury bags and packages I had, and then at Vivian and the others. He immediately reprimanded Oliver. Oliver's face turned livid from being scolded. He threw down the menu in his hand on the spot. "I quit." I stopped Oliver, who was about to leave, and said provocatively, "If you quit, what about that 1 million yuan?" Oliver's chest heaved violently with anger, but he didn't continue walking forward. At this time, Vivian said, "Our Oliver is rich. He just needs to go home and admit his mistake to his parents. Just 1 million yuan. He'll pay it back with interest then." I looked at Oliver with an air of leisure. Oliver's fingernails dug deep into his flesh, and his whole body was shaking with guilt. Facing Vivian's naive words, he had to force a pale smile. Ding dong, a message came to Oliver's phone. Just by taking one look, Oliver looked as if he had swallowed a dead mosquito and glared at me angrily. "You actually canceled the supplementary credit card?" I looked at him. "Aren't you rich as long as you admit your mistake to your family? Why are you afraid of me canceling the card?" Oliver was left speechless by my retort. Vivian took Oliver's hand, glanced at the luxury items at my feet, and waved the things in her hand in front of Oliver. "Scarlett, don't be so arrogant. Oliver is rich. This bag was just bought with Oliver's card." The other sisters also showed their shopping bags one after another. All of them were big-name brands. My supplementary credit card had already been cancelled. These could only have been paid with Oliver's card. Oliver opened his phone and looked at the almost empty savings, his face elongated. I showed off the latest model. "This bag may not even be available for purchase with additional items." Feeling the provocation in my words, Vivian pouted to Oliver. "Oliver, I like that bag too." "What's the use of liking it?" Oliver shouted. Realizing that he had lost his composure, he then gently comforted, "Let's go. We'll talk about the bag tomorrow." Vivian still wanted to insist but was scared by Oliver's terrifying expression. After Arya and I finished our meal and just walked out of the restaurant, I received a call. It wasn't a strange number. It was from Kara, Vivian's sister. Scarlett, what's going on? The doctor just said there's no money in my account. Does Oliver know you're handling things like this? You even forgot to pay for my hospitalization. I smiled slightly. I forgot to tell you. I've already broken up with Oliver. What? How could you break up with Oliver? The shrill voice rang in my ears. I pretended to mention casually, your sister borrowed 1 million yuan from me. 80,000 yuan was enough for the operation. Didn't she leave the remaining 20,000 yuan for you to pay for your hospitalization? Kara didn't continue speaking. In my previous life, Vivian ostensibly said she was raising money for her sister, but in fact, she was using the money to act like a rich young lady herself. This Kara isn't an easy one to deal with either. There'll be a good show to watch soon. During this period, Oliver called me several times, but I just pretended not to see them. Arya hesitated and then said, Scarlett, have you really let go of Oliver? I nodded. I had a dream. I dreamed that Oliver was an ungrateful wolf. No matter how hard I tried to warm him up, it was useless. So I gave up. Recalling Oliver's hateful look before I died in my previous life, my heart ached. I gave without complaints or regrets, but in return, I was killed by him with his own hands. Fortunately, I've been reborn and everything can start over. Seeing that I was in a bad mood, Arya took me to a bar. We didn't return to the neighborhood until early morning. At the doorstep of my house, I saw Oliver. As soon as he saw me, Oliver pointed at me angrily, you have money to go out and live a dissipated life. Why couldn't you pay for Kara's hospitalization? Scarlett, how could you be so shameless and malicious as a woman? That's a living human life. Oliver looked extremely pained. But I was so angry that I laughed instead. Oliver, go get treatment if you're sick. We've already broken up long ago. Oliver was stunned, with a momentary look of confusion in his eyes. Because he had never thought that I, who had been so devoted to him, would actually take that breakup seriously. After all, I used to sacrifice myself just to get him to look at me in the past. I didn't want to say anything. I lifted my foot to go inside with Arya. Oliver chased after us relentlessly. Arya got angry and raised her hand to slap Oliver. Are you even a man? Scarlett has already said you two broke up. Can't you understand human language? Oliver, being as aloof as he was, couldn't bear such an insult. He actually raised his hand to hit Arya. I was boiling with anger. I pushed his arm away and slapped him. If you dare to lay a hand on anyone again, I'll call the police. Seeing that my anger didn't seem fake, Oliver withdrew his hand resentfully. Before I knew it, Vivian came out. She took Oliver's hand and looked at me with a resentful gaze. Scarlett, don't you just hate that I'm with Oliver? Fine, I'll agree to your conditions. I'll go abroad. Even if I'm in a strange place where I don't know anyone, and even if my English isn't good enough to communicate since I haven't passed CET-4, as long as you don't keep torturing Oliver, I'll never come back. Both Arya and I were stunned. We reached the same conclusion simultaneously. Crazy. Facing Vivian's feigned righteousness, Oliver was so touched that he cried, Vivian, you don't have to do this. I'd rather die than bow to her. I'll figure out a way to pay for your sister's hospitalization. Even if I have to take out a loan or sell my house, I'll help you. The two of them hugged tightly. I found it hilarious. In my previous life, when I was cheated out of 100,000 yuan by a scam company, he only left me with the words, you deserved it. And now, facing Vivian's lies, he's actually willing to take out a loan or sell his house. I was really stupid in my previous life. Oliver wiped away his tears. Scarlett, don't you dare regret this. My patience with them had reached its limit. I called the security guard and had both of them driven out. I had brought Oliver to this house before, so it was easy for him to find it. I called my parents and agreed to go abroad. My parents were overjoyed and kept saying yes. I didn't go to school for the past few days but started preparing for going abroad. Until Arya called me, Scarlett, look at the video I sent you quickly. I opened my phone. The first thing I saw was the scene of me throwing a vase at Vivian ferociously. There were also videos of the incident in the dormitory, the Western restaurant, and Oliver making a scene at the door of my room. They had been maliciously edited, only showing how Arya and I slapped Oliver's face harshly. There were countless comments below. Just because you're rich, you think you're so great. It's recommended to thoroughly investigate her family's 3 generations. Such bad manners. The money her parents earned must not be clean either. What's the difference between this behavior and that of a mistress? Using the school's study abroad quota as a bargaining chip. Whoever is in the same school as these two is really unlucky. It's hilarious. It sounds like she thinks the school is run by her family. Truly, the amniotic fluid is the watershed of life. May you have skin diseases when you give birth. How could there be such disgusting people? All the comments below were scolding. They first posted it on the school's post bar and then incited the students to forward it to the internet. Now we're famous. Many netizens are asking me to apologize. I don't even dare to go out now. There are netizens everywhere shouting about wanting to beat us up. Arya said guiltily, also, I thought you were working hard preparing to go abroad. When it was first posted, I went to find Vivian. I didn't expect her to play dirty and maliciously edit the video again to mislead the netizens. I watched the clarification video Arya sent me. In the video, Vivian was crying pitifully while pretending to be forbearing. I'm here to clarify the incident of Scarlett and Arya hitting people and forcing their way into a relationship. Scarlett could do what she did in the video simply because she loves Oliver too much. I can't afford to love Oliver. If my sister's treatment is interrupted, she'll die. I have no other choice. The matter of studying abroad is over. Scarlett is a rich young lady and is on good terms with the director. She's also willing to sponsor 200,000 yuan for that student. Thank you, netizens, for your support. I'm too cowardly to compete with them. After the whole live broadcast, it wasn't a clarification at all. It was a blatant smear. But netizens nowadays are so easily influenced. Coupled with Arya's threatening phone call, it caused a huge uproar on the internet. But I'm not one to be trifled with either. I immediately called the police. They're scheming, but don't I have my own ways too? I had recordings in the school dormitory, and there were surveillance cameras in the Western restaurant and at my doorstep. I don't understand how Vivian could be so stupid. It wasn't until Oliver called me that I understood why she was so bold and arrogant. Scarlett, it's okay that Vivian posted those videos on the internet. They were facts anyway. There's no need for you to make such a big fuss about it and even call the police. This was the first thing Oliver said when he opened his mouth. I found it funny. What right do you have to say these things to me? Oliver's tone faltered for a moment. When he spoke again, it was with an aloofness that couldn't be slandered. Don't push your luck. Which of the things you did, like throwing Vivian's desk lamp or slapping me, was unjust to you? If you really want to make a big deal out of it, you're not much better either. You're just being scolded by netizens a few times. But what about Vivian? She actually had to summon up the courage to post the videos on the internet. Do you know how scared she was? I was so angry that I laughed. So? Because you like her, I should be the one to suffer from rumors? Oliver, don't overestimate yourself. I won't back down an inch on the matter of spreading rumors. I'll leave everything to the police to handle. Oliver was furious with shame. Fine, Scarlett. If you insist on calling the police, I'll go live to help Vivian smear you with false accusations. I sneered, couldn't ask for more. I hung up the phone. Looking at the viewers in the live stream. Facing this sudden reversal, the comment section was dead silent at first and then exploded. Damn it. You played with my feelings. It turns out to be a story of a phoenix man and a gold digger. Sister, for 1 million yuan, I'll be your slave. It's so disgusting. Completely distorting the truth. Girl, don't be soft-hearted. Even if you still love him, you should call the police. When Oliver called me, I had already started the live stream. Chatting while uploading the real surveillance footage. And that call from Oliver just now further confirmed the fact that Vivian had maliciously edited the videos. In the evening, Vivian and Oliver came to my door. Vivian raised her hand, trying to slap me. I grabbed her wrist. Scarlett, quickly take down the videos you posted. Oliver also chimed in, you're so despicable. You actually set me up in the live stream. I never expected you to be such a person. I called the property management, but Vivian snatched my phone and threw it heavily on the ground. Aren't you in love with Oliver? Why are you doing this to me? I sneered, you were the one who spread rumors about me first. And I've already broken up with Oliver long ago. Why can't you understand? Vivian, do you really want that study abroad quota that badly? All the trouble you've caused is because you think I don't like Oliver that much anymore, so you started to force me to give you the quota, right? Vivian paused and retorted loudly, how could that be? Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Oliver, don't listen to her. I took out the photos of Vivian going in and out of various bars and the evidence that she had embezzled the 20,000 yuan meant for her sister. Oliver, Vivian has been using you all along. Do you think she likes you? No, she's just using you as a tool. Vivian pretends to be innocent, but actually she goes in and out of various bars and doesn't even come home until early morning. Every time she gives Oliver the excuse that she's working part-time. Vivian snatched Oliver's phone. After seeing the photos, her whole body was shaking with guilt and fear. She still tried to defend herself without remorse. Oliver, believe me. I've only been with you from the beginning to the end. I have no improper relationships with anyone. These are photos synthesized by Scarlett. It has nothing to do with me. Oliver stared fixedly at the scantily clad woman in the photos and didn't say a word. Actually, he could tell the difference between synthesized and real photos. He just didn't want to believe it yet. Then I had to give him another push. I took out the flight information booked by Vivian and the photos of the study abroad application materials from the agency and sent them to Oliver. The flight is booked for the date of departure from school. The materials are for personal application. Vivian has made 2 preparations. She took a loan online using your ID card. You'd better go and check the amount. Arya was tricked by Vivian and swore to take revenge. So she had someone follow Vivian. Unexpectedly, they really discovered an amazing secret. These photos were all given to me by her. Oliver looked at the photos and carefully checked the information. Now Oliver had to believe it. His eyes were red as he looked at Vivian in disbelief. Didn't you say you wanted me to take a photo with my ID card as a souvenir? How much did you borrow? Why are you doing this to me? Vivian took a step back in fear but still tried to defend herself. She's spreading rumors. Don't believe her. But Oliver's face now was terrifyingly scary. Vivian shrank back and stammered, 1 million yuan. With teary eyes, she leaned on Oliver delicately. She imagined that, as before, Oliver would hold her in his arms with heartache and stop being angry. But this time, things didn't develop as she had imagined. Slap. Vivian was slapped hard on the face. She looked at Oliver in disbelief and murmured, Oliver, you actually hit me? Oliver used to treat Vivian like a precious jewel in his palm. He wouldn't even scold her loudly. But this time he actually hit her. Oliver's eyes were red. Are you crazy? You dared to take a 1 million yuan online loan. Vivian covered her injured face and said nonchalantly, it's just 1 million yuan. Don't be angry with your family. Go back and inherit the family property properly. This kind of small money can be solved in minutes. I'll take the money and go abroad first. You can come later. Wouldn't it be better if we live abroad? Vivian tried to coax him. But Oliver remained unmoved. Vivian said a few more things about the envisioned future. Seeing that Oliver still didn't say a word, she finally couldn't hold it back. Oliver, do you have to be so petty? I've been with you for so long. Am I not even worth 1 million yuan? As she said this, she was hitting herself while crying. I don't have any money at all. Oliver finally couldn't bear it anymore and roared, I lied to you. I don't have any money at all. Are you satisfied? Vivian's eyes widened. She couldn't believe it at all. What did you say? Oliver wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes, giving up. I don't have any money. All that talk about being angry with my family was a lie. Vivian staggered back in fear. It's impossible. How could you lie to me? Oliver grabbed Vivian's shoulders. How much is left? Pay it back quickly. Vivian was so scared that she turned around to run. Oliver grabbed her by the neck. How much is left? Vivian was so scared that tears streamed down her face. She was choked and couldn't breathe. She didn't dare to tell the truth and only struggled to ask me for help. Save me. But I'm not a saint. The pain I suffered in my previous life. Vivian should also experience it once. Seeing that Vivian's breathing was disordered and her eyes were rolling back, the police arrived. Don't move. Oliver was subdued and taken to prison together with Vivian. As early as when the two of them came to my door, I had already called the police. Afraid that they would do something extreme. The evidence of Vivian slandering me was conclusive. She was detained, just waiting for the court hearing. She accepted this willingly because if she wasn't detained, she might be strangled to death by Oliver. Oliver sued Vivian, only to find that the 1 million yuan had already been spent. Since I cancelled Oliver's card, Oliver's savings were quickly squandered by Vivian and those sisters. It is difficult to go from luxury to simplicity. Vivian was so used to a luxurious life that it was impossible for her to live an ordinary life in a down-to-earth manner. So she boldly took out online loans using Oliver's ID card. She was also ready to flee abroad at any time. When Vivian was sued and had no money, in order to serve fewer years in prison, she went to the sisters who used to eat and drink at her expense. Sister Jean, you promised to treat us. There's no reason to ask for it back. We've been helping you bully Scarlett for so long. How could you have the nerve to take these things back? We don't have any money. You were the one who borrowed it, not us. Those people shirked their responsibilities. Vivian was also a tough one. She sued everyone who had spent her money. Those people didn't want to go to jail, so they tried their best to scrape together the money. Finally, Vivian set her sights on Kara. Stop staying in the hospital. Give me that 200,000 yuan quickly. Of course Kara ignored her and even blocked her. After scraping together here and there, they only managed to get 500,000 yuan. When Oliver found me, I was having a meal with Arya in a shopping mall. In just a few days' absence, Oliver looked much haggard, and his once handsome face was marked by agitation and depression. Scarlett. I give up. He seemed to have given up all resistance. I promise to be with you, or even marry you. But I have 3 conditions. First, you help me pay off the 500,000 yuan of online loans, and the previous 1 million yuan will also be wiped out. Second, agree to sign a letter of understanding for Vivian and give her a chance. Third, I don't love you. Even if I marry you, I won't touch you. We can have test tube babies after marriage. I was so angry that I laughed. Oliver, don't overestimate yourself. We've already broken up. Stop pestering me. Oliver's face turned pale. Don't you like me anymore? I called the waiter and had Oliver dragged away. Leaving only one sentence, I wish I could kill you. How could I possibly like you? Oliver looked dejected and completely drained of energy. He was easily dragged away by the waiter. Vivian was sentenced to 10 years in prison for multiple crimes. And Oliver didn't give up on approaching me either. But I soon went abroad. I traveled around the world and lived a carefree and unrestrained life every day. 10 years later, I was experiencing primitive life on the African savanna. During a phone call with Arya, I learned that Oliver was forced by the online loans to become a male model. Finally, due to his promiscuous lifestyle, he got a venereal disease. Seeing him being tortured by the illness, he stabbed Vivian to death on her way back to her hometown after she was released from prison.
Devouring flesh and blood could make them stronger, allowing them to evolve. Over time, most of the zombies emerging from the rifts would head towards the bustling city center.